publication of the Apopka Chief through its Facebook and YouTube channels. We welcome the opportunity to get to know the candidates better who are running for mayor, which are Mayor Brian Nelson, City Commissioner Nick Nesta, and County Commissioner Christine Moore. Welcome, candidates. We're glad you're here tonight. The essence of a city mayor's role often involves making critical decisions on a budget allocation and financial management to ensure the smooth functioning of a city. As such, your experience and competence in managing finances at a municipal level are paramount. A mayor is essential in deciding the future of a city's infrastructure, from roads to public buildings and parks. Your answer to these questions will demonstrate your ability to look at the big picture, make decisions that impact the entire community, and manage the city's resources effectively. As mayor, you'll be dealing with decisions that directly impact the structure and growth of our community. Land use policies, zoning laws are pivotal tools in shaping the city's development, and your comprehension of these regulations is vital. The forum questions are aimed to gauge your knowledge on these matters, ensuring that you can make informed decisions that will benefit the community. To ensure that each candidate has the opportunity to answer each question to the best of their ability, a 3-minute maximum time limit will be applied to each person's question, and my timekeeper here will keep us on track of that, so we are set. Candidates, please try to maximize your time with pertinent, relevant information, be concise, and if you can, refrain from repeating prior comments. That's hard sometimes. Before we begin, we respectfully ask that you as candidates and the audience tonight allow and follow the general guidelines for civility and respect throughout the event. We're here to specifically learn about your position on community issues. Also, we ask that the audience and candidates please mute or turn off your cell phones to avoid any interruptions. And at that, we'll begin. So at this point, we're going to ask for opening statements. Please state your election platform and how you will accomplish your goals as mayor. And we'll start with the current mayor.
Well, thank you, Hank, and thank the Victory Church for hosting us here tonight. I'd also like to thank my wife, Debbie, and my entire family for their unwavering support as I share my vision for what Apopka can be in 4 years and even 40 years into the future. I have kept my promises and reduced debt, increased reserves, and made meaningful changes to the downtown. We were left with a mess 8 years ago with little reserves and lots of debt. We have climbed out of the hole and now have over $40 million in reserves and less than $2 million in general fund debt, freeing up over $1 million a year to spend on public safety, infrastructure, and parks and recreation. The city is blessed with over 500 dedicated employees who come to work every day to make sure that our lives are just a little bit better. We have completed 47 miles of resurfacing, added or replaced 1,000 LED streetlights, and constructed over 60 miles of sidewalks and 9 miles of multi-purpose trails. We have reconfirmed the highest fire ISO 1 rating and reconfirmed our communications and police accreditations. With 4 generations of Nelsons living here in Apopka, I want the next 4 generations of Nelsons, as well as your families, to live, work, and play in one of the most dynamic and vibrant communities in Central Florida, if not all of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Nesta, sorry.
Good evening, and I want to say thank you to Victory Church for hosting us, the Apopka involved voters, Dr. Dunn, our timekeeper as well. Thank you for your time, and thank you for hosting this forum, and thank you for those that are in attendance as well as online. I'm a husband to my amazing wife, Lauren. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, and I promised her after this election, once I win, we're going to go away and take some time just for us. So I'm excited for that and looking forward to that. A father of twins, a small business owner, and I have a master's in real estate from UCF. Go Knights. I grew up in Apopka. I started my business here. I met my wife here, and just like many of you, I'm raising my family here during these times of out-of-control utility cost, sanitation cost, and water cost. I'm running for mayor because I'm the only candidate that has sat as a duly elected commissioner and had to fight for the most basic of needs, like moving public comment from the end of a meeting to the beginning and letting it be live streamed for all the residents to see. This had to be done after the current mayor unilaterally moved it to the end of the meeting and silenced our residents. I've brought new policies to fruition that have saved the city millions of dollars since I was elected by way of an updated investment policy for taxpayer funds, as well as a real estate policy that stopped the city from selling real estate millions less than market value. What I do want to be clear about is I'm not running against any one person. I'm running for the people of Apopka. The city is not a political stepping stone or a talking point for me. It's home. And I humbly ask and thank you in advance for your vote on March 10th, 2026.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, gentlemen, and Victory Church for offering this informative debate. I'm Christine Moore, and I'm running for mayor of Apopka. I'm the daughter of a musician, banker, and small business owner, and my son is here this evening with me. I grew up in a small town along the Erie Canal, and I loved the summer parades, raising of the drawbridge, and hearing my dad lead all the bands at the 4th of July. After graduating summa cum laude from the University of Michigan, I moved to Florida in 1983 to study flute with an internationally renowned teacher, and I fell in love with Central Florida and Apopka. For 17 years, I've led Orange County on the school board and county commission. But what you may not know is all my additional training. I enrolled in a cohort last fall with a national organization called Strong Towns on rebuilding downtowns, stopping suburban sprawl, and making sure development pays for its infrastructure. I attended conferences on small town development, and finally I studied executive leadership through Harvard University and the Florida Association of Counties. And what about all those dozen placemaking murals, paintings, historic displays, fence art in many schools and around town? They are the result of my leadership partnering with the community. And you've heard so much about the roads and the infrastructure. Tonight I wanted to share some different aspects of my past. My administration will mean more jobs and opportunity, more shopping, dining, medical, manufacturing, and services. It'll mean greater collaboration with the county, state, and neighboring cities. It means updating codes and ordinances, inaugurating community advisory boards, boards for historic preservation, infrastructure, parks and rec, and arts and athletics. Listening to the residents isn't about private appointments. It's about sharing data, best practices, and offering public workshops and town halls for everyone. More administration means pausing on new suburban development, resetting codes, limiting the wrong kind of development in our 6 commercial districts, and requiring passive land percentages due to the Wekiva River Protection Act. It means daily attention to fixing our transportation system, new sidewalks, street lighting, safety countermeasures, and capacity. And even though I believe we need more capacity, I also believe Apopka can and will be more walkable and bikeable. It means improving the land development code and beginning a land preservation program with our ever-expanding trail system to be the spine and spokes, connecting springs, lakes, and nature areas. Ecotourism is our niche, and we must expand it. If you want change, if you want improvement, if you want teamwork and 100% effort on our future, vote Christine Moore for Apopka. Apopka deserves more.
Thank you. Now we move to 3 general questions that we're going to ask of each of you. They'll be the same question, and so each of you will have a chance to answer them. The first question, and we'll start with the mayor the first time, is how would you ensure that the city's budget is balanced and provides all level of service demands, including staffing and operational costs and capital costs?
That's a great question, and we look at every budget every year, and I know a lot of people have asked about, that there's not enough input from the public, and we start out early, March and April. We start working on budgets at the director level to find out where we are in the process, because unlike a normal business, a lot of businesses are January 1. We're an October 1 start date, so if you start much before March or April, you really don't have enough data to really start to put together a budget. But let's go back to a couple things that we've accomplished in my administration. Before, we had an old EMS billing company that I had to get rid of, and we moved to a new format with the EMS billing, and we're now generating about $3.5 million in income. At the time that we switched, it was about $500,000. We also, when we built Fire Station 5, which is a great addition to Apopka, but it was not from a cost-effective standpoint, it was not cost-effective. So what I went to Orange County, to the fire department in Orange County, and said, hey guys, can we take over your Fire Station 29, that area of Northwest Orange County, and we take the taxes that you collect, and we use that to fund Fire Station 5. is generating over $1 million now in income for City of Apopka. So those two things, just from the fire department alone, are $4.5 million that we've generated since I've become mayor. So you have to look at everything from a standpoint of, I always tell my director, said, I don't want you to look at how you'd spend your money. This is not your money. Spend it like it was your mother's money. Because we care about how our mom spends their money, and they care about how they spend their money. So I said, when we look at every budget, it's like, okay, would your mom spend the money on that? And if you go back, every month, the second meeting of the month, every councilman has a chance to look at every expenditure, and we have not had one since Commissioner Ness has been on the board that we've had to question. So every check has been written off or has been signed off by a commissioner, all 4 commissioners, and myself. So transparency on the budget is paramount to a great running city.
Thank you. And that same question for Commissioner Moore.
There's nothing more important than setting a budget, and I have certainly had the experience at a $8 billion budget at the county commission, and in fact, the Library Association, all of the constitutional officers would have to come in, and we would review their budget and ultimately vote on it. I will tell you, one of the struggles that we're having at the local level, county and cities, is continually having more and more expenses passed down from Tallahassee. And so that will certainly be a challenge for us this year if our budgets are cut. And so we have to prepare in many ways. We'll be talking about sharing expenses perhaps between municipalities, between counties. There are going to be all kinds of things that we have to look at comparing level of service. But as far as the City of Apopka budget, it should always be a year-long process, and the public should obviously be involved, and we should see that all expenditures line up with the strategic plan, and a lot of times what is said in the election, and what I'm hearing as I knock on doors and talk to people, is they want infrastructure. So clearly we're not spending enough money on our infrastructure, whether it's fixing sidewalks, adding 4-way stop signs, street lining, what have you. So that is a priority that I'm hearing that we would have to certainly add more to that budget. Also, I can tell you what the previous public services director, he's actually endorsed me, and his concern was that this council was not putting enough money into public works. And I will tell you, I fight that same battle at the county as well, because you're all asking for that, and that has to be a priority when we set dollars and cents. So yes, each department has to come in. The needs should certainly be in different buckets. Some of it is maintenance. Maintenance should always, always come first. You have to protect, you have to preserve, you have to maintain what you have first before you build anything else. And so that will certainly be at the top of the priority list. And then there'll be some things that the public, has talked about. I want to have these committees, these citizen sounding boards where more of you can get involved, because we're having civility problems. We have it at the council, we're having it in this campaign. And so clearly, if more of you had the opportunity to have real input by sitting on a board, looking at that budget before it even got to the council, I believe this town would be in a better place. And I'm very encouraged by all the new residents that have moved here from all over the country. I've talked to so many of them, and I think our best days are ahead, and I think we've got some real talent in this town that we can make that budget even stronger.
Thank you. Commissioner Nesta, same question?
Yes, and thank you for this. I think having been part of and very intricately involved in the budget process, I can see our pitfalls and where we've gotten it wrong. I can see where residents come up a few months later, or even, heck, the first meeting after our first budget starts and we have to do a budget amendment. It means we did it wrong. We're budgeting incorrectly. So I'm going to take a whole new approach to all of this. It's basically, come January, we're going to bifurcate how we actually do the budget. Basically put it into government only. What can the government only do? We need a budget for that. So that's public safety, infrastructure, sanitation, things of that nature. Let's budget appropriately for that and actually do a need-based budget, not just what's left over or what we want to budget. What are the actual needs of those different sectors of our city? and budget appropriately from there. Then have kind of our extra side of it, our amenities, it's parks, events, things of that nature, our downtown center. What are we wanting to put into that, and how much are we wanting to do that? With that, and how we're going to be deciding that, is have a resident-led advisory committee. That advisory committee is going to advise on basically quality of life. What are they experiencing day in and day out, and really give feedback to the council appropriately. And that's going to start well in advance, not September, the month before we actually need to get this done, so we're rushing. We're going to get this well in advance so that residents have input from the beginning and we're not coming later. We need to be focused on fact-based budgeting and not just hopes and wishes, because we do so many budget amendments throughout the year that it shows that we're not budgeting properly. The last unaudited number for our water was that we're over 10% off of what we budgeted for. So that means we're either budgeting wrong, we're forecasting wrong. There needs to be better priority or a better focus on how to do that properly. And it was referenced to that the second meeting of every month that there's basically a ledger that goes out of what numbers are all going out, and that creates transparency somehow. The problem with all the money that's going out, there's no clarity to it. If you look at it, you have no idea where that money's going, what projects it's associated with, anything of that nature. It doesn't help transparency, it's just there for confusion. So that'll be taken into a totally different direction, making sure that residents understand where truly every dollar is going. And one of the biggest things that we've not done in the last 8 years is pivot quickly. The market changes quickly, preferences change quickly, the economy changes quickly. We need to be doing that as well and understanding month by month, week by week, what departments need and what do we need to be providing to our residents on the day-to-day.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Commissioner Moore, so it'll be yours. And this is the question. At the recent February 5th debate, you, and I think it was all three candidates, stated that you would serve as mayor regardless of whether the Charter Amendment 1 passes, changing Apopka's form of government from mayor council to council manager. Should this amendment pass, the questions are, what steps would you take to oversee the transition, and what is your perspective on the mayor's duties and responsibilities under that kind of system?
Well, Hank, I'm trying to preserve strong mayor, so I haven't really spent that much time thinking about that, but the will of the people actually has to rule. And if they choose that, then certainly the amendment itself says 4 months. I think my concern with that whole charter process, and I listened and went to many of those meetings, was there was very little discussion. It was a council-derived process. It never really engaged the public. And to this day, the ballots have gone out, and there is no information available that has been put out by the city. Now, I understand that the legislature has tightened up on those rules, and you can never put information out that advocates a certain position. But I think as we're campaigning, I think we talk about, we're running for mayor, and for 4 months, yes, we would be strong mayor. We would be setting up a whole administration and getting everything working properly to then step back. And what I tell people, that you basically would take me from leading the city to being Vanna White at the Wheel of Fortune. And so is that really what you want? And I'll tell you, people are not saying to me that that's what they wish to have. Why? Because they want to preserve the right to vote for the person who's going to lead the city and honor what those people have said with their vision, their goals, their priorities. And so to immediately go to a manager form of government, yes, I would make that happen because we honor the will of the people. So certainly there would be probably a national search. But it worries me because they haven't been able to agree on managers. I think we've had 5 over the last 8 years. And right now, Bradley Williams has not even been confirmed. He's still considered interim because the votes weren't there. So I tell people, I would worry if you vote for this that you potentially would have no leader. And so I trust the people. So I trust that they're going to stay with strong mayor. But if they don't, I always will honor the will of the people.
Thank you. Commissioner Nesta, same question.
Absolutely. This is one that's been discussed for years now, and the reason this has come up and been asked by our residents to be placed on this ballot is because they feel they lack confidence in the future with the current mayor should he get reelected. That's why this is on it. Just like many other of the charter amendments that are on there, they're due to the current actions of the current mayor. So that's where a lot of the fear is coming from, is that residents are saying, oh, we don't want to go back to where we came from. So, and being part of all of these discussions with residents day in and day out, not just while I'm campaigning, I've been here. I live in the city for a while, so I know what the conversations truly are. I know what the needs are of the residents. And as I've said in many other forums, I'm happy to serve the residents however they want. I listen to the residents and advocate for them in that capacity, regardless if it's pretty or not. We're going to advocate for what the residents want. So a transition to a managerial form of government, should the residents want that, is an easy one. You make sure that a professional manager comes in and is ready day one to lead the city, but based on what the commission empowers them to do. I think that's the point at the end of the day, is that you still elect all 5 on the dais there, so why not feel empowered by that? There's still voters giving input there. So, and you say that Commissioner Moore had stated that there's no advocacy coming from the city. We can't in any way do that. It's against the law. So there's no reason to even bring that up, because the city cannot advocate in any capacity. So putting it out there, I'm not sure what you're trying to point out there. And again, I'm running for the residents at the end of the day. What they want is what I'm going to do. And it's very important to have, regardless of if it's a strong mayor or managerial form of government, we need a strong city administrator in that job. We need somebody that has the experience, the knowledge, the background, the education in this. Not just, hey, we've won a couple elections. It's, no, we need somebody that actually knows how to get through all these unique issues that the city of Apopka is now dealing with.
Thank you. Mayor Nelson.
Thank you. Yes, I think a strong mayor is the best form of government. I can tell you all of the people that have come from cities where city manager, they complain because they don't have that strong mayor that they can go talk about not only the issue but have a vote on when it comes to council. So strong mayor is, obviously what I would prefer. Obviously, I'm the only one here at the dais that has not only executive experience at public but at the private sector on a medium to large size company. So you want somebody with experience that's handled, when I left the nursery business, I had 140 employees. We were top 100 nursery business in the country. So I understand, how to run a larger size business. And that's important. But if you went to city manager form of government, just go right across the street to Ocoee. Ocoee has a city manager, but they also have an assistant city manager. So I know a lot of people talk about it's going to save you money having one, but when I came in, first thing I did, we had a PIO that he was looking out for the mayor and not for the city, so I got rid of him. So like a lot of the things that we do internally are done in our office or the administrator's office, making sure we get all the information out to the public on Facebook and Instagram and all the other platforms. And so, having a strong mayor gives you a much more better grasp of what the issues are, and when you go to, like when I go to League of Cities, I'm on the League of Cities on the board of directors for the League of Mayors. And, I can talk from a different level than the mayors that I'm dealing with. Most of them are, city manager, and they're talking from a policy point of view, but not down in the weeds, about public services, about police and fire. So are there some great city managers out there? Absolutely, but I think the city of Apopka, the residents here in Apopka, still want a strong mayor form of government.
Okay, thank you. Next question is going to go to you first, Commissioner Nesta, and that question, the last question for all 3 of you, the same question. Do you support the annexation of South Apopka? Why or why not? And if you support the South Apopka annexation, would you support 2 referendums, or 1, and why?
It's a good question, and to explain to everybody what you mean by that, it means that the unincorporated section of Apopka would have a vote, and then incorporated Apopka would have a vote. So having by 2 referendum, that's what you're meaning there. And it's not required to do that. Effectively, it's only required legally to have the unincorporated area of Apopka have a vote, effectively. So what I've always said, and what I'll continue to say very consistently, put this back to the residents. It's not our job as a commission. It's not the 5 of us that need to make that main decision. Give the residents the opportunity to vote. Put it on the ballot. It should have been put on the ballot years ago. Should have been put on well before I got elected. Should have been put on while I've been elected. There's a lot of misinformation that comes out by that as well, which is concerning. And there's ways to do it successfully too, if the residents are wanting that. We can do it in a way that's not going to be a land grab. That's not going to be to where we're forcing code enforcement to go in there and try to code enforce these homes, we can do it in a way that partners with these homeowners and landowners and make sure that it's beneficial to the community as a whole. I think that's the point of this at the end of the day, is to benefit the southern portion of Apopka that's unincorporated. That's the whole point of this, is to make sure that everybody benefits and we become a community that understands its historical context and how we got to where we're at and appreciates that and shows value to that. So there's not a support, don't support, it's give it to the residents. Let the residents make the decision. That's the whole point. I don't know why we're gatekeeping it being on a ballot. It needs to go to the residents, and from there we can discuss what that looks like for each resident, whether it's a staggered approach over the next 10 years that we slowly take this amount over from the county to where it's a negotiation almost, so that residents aren't confused about where their services come from. Over the next 10 years, we can get there. We can also budget appropriately for it, make sure that our first responders, our water and sewer and sanitation are all ready for this, and that we can slowly stair it up appropriately. So it's not a support or not support, it's what do the residents want? How do I get it done?
Thank you. And the same question for Mayor Nelson.
We'll go back to the debate we had at Apopka High School. Both my opponents have dodged around the answer. My answer is no. I don't want to annex South Apopka, period.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Moore.
I didn't dodge, I said yes. So, but nevertheless, it's an important issue. I had responsibility for South Apopka for the last 7.5 years, and I love working with the people. And it was wonderful to hear Mr. Mann at the corner store at 13th and the people at Brixton Landing just say, Commissioner, we can't get to the bus. We need a sidewalk. So we added a sidewalk, and we added sidewalks in other streets. And then I was dealing with the prejudice of the cyclists and the walkers, going through South Apopka, and I knew if we're going to be the next Winter Garden, we've got to have a trail that people aren't afraid of. And when we get these jobs, sometimes we do learn once we get here and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so I tried a lot of cleanups to get the trash off the trail. I would say I wasn't particularly successful until the Run Club came along, and thank God for them. But I also had Parks and Rec clean up and reduce the vines and the underbrush so that you could see through. And of course, we put $6 billion into resurfacing in the bridge. And again, now people are using the trail. And so I love being down there. We had a citizen group, people of Southern Apopka, who worked so hard to clean up Sheeler Road. They cleaned up Apopka Boulevard, and last year Claricona. And it was in partnership with the county. So we put thousands of dollars into improved street line, $220,000 on Sheeler to about $300,000 to fix all the sidewalks, the aprons, and the ADA compliance. So at this point, if the citizens want to annex, I believe we got a lot of the work done. But I have a different, you asked also, I want to answer that question before I have my little different idea. Yes, it would have to be a vote of the people in South Apopka, do they want to come, and the people in North Apopka to accept them. But I have another idea altogether, because I've been studying from Urban 3 and Strong Towns and the importance of however our development is, it has to bring in the revenue to be able to pay for the services and the infrastructure. So I would love to work on annexing maybe a street on the east side, the north side, southwest, and just keep really working on annexing all over the county so that we have a balanced approach to those annexations. But again, of course, I will tell you, a lot of the South Apopka people didn't want to come, but maybe if I'm mayor, they will. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move into the next section, which is just individual questions. It will not be the same questions for each of you. And so we will start with Mayor Nelson. So here is the first question. Over the last 6 years, the city has repeatedly made budget adjustments at nearly every city council meeting. Many voters see this as a failure to properly plan and execute a comprehensive budgeting process. How would you ensure that budget changes only occur in response to truly uncontrollable events, such as natural disasters or other circumstances beyond human control?
The problem with that answer, the answer is that when you have a tight budget, and so I run a very tight ship, very, very tight budget, we don't have a lot of frills. I could put another $100,000 in this department or that department and spend it by the end of the year. I'd rather be tight and then come back and look at where we are and say, okay, I need some additional funds for a sidewalk or a pipe that broke, or a transmission that fell out of one of the big one of our garbage trucks. So the budget we run, it's as transparent as you can be. Would you rather have a budget with $1 million in it that there's $800,000 is planned and $200,000 is funny money? No, I'm gonna give you an $800,000 budget, and if we need to come back for the next 200, that's what we'll do. And so we look at, I know everybody talks about, staffing levels, that we've got staff vacancies. More than half the staff vacancies are they're part-time summer employees. Yes, we have staff vacancies, and we use that money. Sometimes that adds to our reserves. We've got some. Right now, we've got 4 or 5 positions we'd like to fill, but having a hard time filling them with the right people. So when you talk about the budgets, and we didn't get to $40 million in reserves from way down below 5 by spending stupidly. So we've managed the money properly, and everybody gets to see where we're spending it. So if we do have to do a budget amendment, any of the council members can say, well, Mayor, why do we need that? Why didn't we budget for that? Where is it coming from, and where's it going to go? So I think having that transparency is a whole lot better than adding fluff or slush fund to each of the departments. So I think we're doing it the right way, and I think everybody has an ability to take a look at what we're doing as we change the budget throughout the year.
Thank you very much. Next question goes to you as well, a little different. What is one development decision you've made as mayor over the past 8 years that you believe might have been a mistake, and what would you have done differently and why?
That's an interesting one. I'm just having a hard time coming up with it.
That's true. Again, just maybe one that you thought you would have done a little differently. But just a question we thought we'd ask. But if you don't have one, that's fine. We can go on. Next question would be for Commissioner Moore. And as mayor, how would you improve communications between City Hall and residents to ensure residents fully understand how decisions impact them financially?
I'm just glad you didn't ask me that question. I didn't vote on any of those, so anyway, communication is obviously key, and I think a lot of it starts with customer service. And I would tell you that my staff at the county, we are answering hundreds of emails a week, and they take research. And so in Apopka, I believe we need to have a point person who has the ability to get to all staff members and then provide the council and me tickets so we can see if their issues are resolved. And I believe in having the community engaged. In my Neighborhood Leader program, they did all the hard work. They called in the street lights that were burned out, the sidewalks were cracked, but they have to have a very good system. Now I know the county, we use 311, the city uses the See, Click, Fix, but sometimes you really need a real person. So that would be one step in the communications. I probably would go back to having someone coordinate all the news, whether you want to call them a PIO or what have you. You absolutely have to have it. There's so much good news, and we're facing these drastic budget cuts from the state, potentially the end of the year. There was a board member at the school board, Kat Gordon, who I love dearly, and she would always say, it's a poor frog that fails to praise its own. And so Orange County, we were doing sidewalks everywhere, and so they started putting out videos, and I was posting them. Now, some of you thought all they cared about was sidewalks. No, I do love sidewalks. But the point is, you have to talk about everything that the city does, and the people have to have a thorough understanding. On a more serious note, there should be town halls, and maybe we need longer workshops on a Monday to really bring people into the knowledge of how the city works. I find many of the PowerPoints and presentations at the city meetings are not well done. They're not even clear to those of us who do this every day. And so I think all of our presentations, all the way we communicate with the public, should always be in a way to elevate and help them, because I believe we're partners in this. And the more you know and understand about everything, the better. I took a group to DeLand last year to study how DeLand has been an award-winning downtown, and we met with their mayor and with their downtown association. And so communication can take on so many fronts, but it's absolutely vital for a healthy city.
Thank you. Next question's for Commissioner Nesta, and the question is, Apopka continues to experience rapid growth. What specific infrastructure investments, like roads, utilities, public safety, would you prioritize in your first 2 years as mayor, and how would you fund them without overburdening and taxing residents?
The biggest one right now that our residents are experiencing is out of control utility cost increases, which I know somebody up here likes to claim that they reduced it themselves by 5.5%, but it's still a 35% increase over the last 2 years, and a promise to make another 18% at least over the next 3 years. So utility rates are the biggest ones we've got to wrap our hands around. We've known that meters, water meters, backflow preventers have all been failing or faulty for many, many, many years. And for some reason, it's only been prioritized this last year during election season. So properly staffing that department and not just having people work overtime, which costs a lot more long term, bring the right people in that can actually do the job correctly, save us money on that front. And then from there, you build down on other infrastructure. We need safer roads, and some of that can be timing, just on lights itself or different stop signs. There's somebody in my family that loves to, they're a city planner, and they love to put roundabouts everywhere. So I know it's not a resident favorite, but we'll look into it. Things like that are what are going to improve our city and quality of life, and that's the key to this, is that it's not just infrastructure that's going to improve life, but the quality of life itself of what everyone's interacting with day to day. So that's how we're going to be able to do it. We can find savings throughout our city with different budgeting processes and what we prioritize. Again, if we bring the residents into the conversation properly, they'll be able to tell us, okay, here's what we want to be properly prioritized, and not just a group that is behind closed doors and then brings it the day of, and we have no time to actually decide what's on the budget. It's a quick, hey, you got 300 lines you have to go through to be able to prioritize what the residents want. So it's really getting what the residents' needs are out there. We can find savings and reprioritize money properly without charging the residents an unnecessary amount of money with what we already have.
Thank you, Commissioner. But I do have a back-to-back question for you as well, so the next one is yours. A recent retail recruitment report identified approximately $235 million of city residents' purchasing power being spent outside the city. As mayor, what specific policies would you support to redirect resident spending to city businesses?
It's engaging our economic development department correctly, having them, give them the autonomy to truly do what their experience is, which is attract and retain. They need to be building our businesses that are already here, making sure that they're happy if they want to grow in some specific capacity, that we're providing that, but also going out. They should be in the office very rarely. Our department head should be really going out and reaching the businesses that we want to be retaining back here, attracting back here. So that's where we can really start to save this money, bring that $235 million back to the city, back to basically help fund taxpayer needs here. And that's what we really need. We need to be focusing on what the economy is providing right now. And I said it earlier, kind of pivot quickly. We don't need to be doing what was done 10 years ago. We need to be doing what the residents are wanting now. Pivot quickly with what we're wanting. Make sure the economic development director knows what that is and is in touch with that. Get out, bring those businesses in, and they'll be so much more in touch with the different restaurants, businesses, retail shops. Make it walkable, again, and it's gonna be engaging on so many different levels. And in addition to that, I think there really needs to be more synergy between departments. Right now we have a very siloed departments that do their job and that's it by direction. So if we can start to create synergy, public services and parks can all take advantage of what economic development has to offer, which really does benefit the quality of life for our residents, which is the whole point of what we do. So that's how I would really engage and make sure that bring that $235 million back to the city to make sure that it benefits the residents to its fullest potential.
Thank you. Next question will be for Commissioner Moore. And that question is, when unexpected expenses arise mid-budget cycle, as mayor, how would you address the unexpected expenses?
Well, you do need reserves, so I know the mayor said he's left us $30 million, so that would help, but certainly you have to build contingencies into your budget. And at the county, we also have a mid-year recalc time, and so certainly that should never catch your department heads unaware because they would have built in contingency. And then sometimes, unfortunately, I can tell you what happens, particularly when it comes to infrastructure. When asphalt has gone up so much and labor, then projects, major capital projects, get delayed. So you don't have to raise taxes in the middle of the year. You might have to put the project off for a year. And so you could assure in my administration we would have top-notch people to handle budgeting, and we would be prepared for situations such as that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next question goes to Mayor Nelson, and it's a little bit long, but I'll try to be fast with it. During your term, you've already mentioned that department heads were dismissed, public comment was moved to the end of city council meetings, and the live broadcast of meetings sometimes was discontinued. After 8 months, public comment was reinstated with individual speaking time reduced by 1 minute. So what considerations led you to make these decisions, and what factors prompted you to reverse them?
Great question. So yeah, we moved the public comment to the end of the meeting, and they've always been allowed to speak. Public comment's always been a part of city council meetings. We moved to the end of the meeting for a couple of reasons. One is we got people there. There are 3 reasons. One, people there to do business. Okay. 2 is I've got city staff that are there that it's not benefiting them. They're not helping. They're not engaged with the public discussion. And third, let's just go back to the last meeting. So I want everybody to go back and look at the last meeting where we had public comment at the front of the meeting, and we had 30 UCF nursing students there. And 3 or 4 of the public comments were all political, had nothing to do with public comment about a pothole or about an infrastructure problem, about a Parks and Rec, a field, or anything. It was 100% political. I'm looking at these 30 nursing students, and their eyes are glazing over like, is this what city council is all about? So that's the reason I did it. People, they decided they want it back at the beginning of the meeting, we'll do it. And we put it back to the meeting, at the front of the meeting. But I can tell you, go look at the last 10, go to the last 10 city council meetings. At least half of the public comments are the same 5 people just railing on political issues, not on policy. And all of them are from the Nesta camp. They're not from Nelson's. And you want to go all the way back, go back 8 years and find one comment from one of my supporters that has created havoc. You won't find it. So we talk about public comment. Public comment's there for a reason. It's to communicate an issue you've got that's not in the normal process of the city council meeting, and that's not what we have public comment today.
Thank you. Next question is for Commissioner Moore. And the question is, as mayor, what budget development process would you implement to ensure transparency, accountability, and public service and infrastructure demands are met?
Well, I would certainly, when I show up with the PowerPoint, it wouldn't look like, I've said this several times, it shouldn't look like a checkbook register, and it should be handled in a way that aligns with the strategic plan. They just went through a strategic planning process, which I support, and it's an excellent way to run. I actually stood up in public comment and suggested, though, and I didn't have a response back, that whatever the priorities are, that they should have metrics assigned to them and a champion and a department that would report on this. And so when I was on the school board, we had student achievement, we had all these different metrics, and as a board member, I could go through all of them, see where we were green. Green means good, red means not doing so well, and I could immediately look at it. So developing metrics that would be online would certainly be something we would do. I'm not sure how quickly that could be because it's very detailed, deep, difficult work, but it should be done at some point, and make sure that everything aligns with priorities. And it should be measurable, it should be on some sort of an app or online that the citizens can do just like I did at the school board and tell if we're on track.
Okay, thank you. Again, Mayor Nelson, this question is going to go to you next. It's political campaigns are often hard-fought political campaigns. In the past, you may have run a negative campaign ad or two against your opponents. Do you think negative campaigning is warranted in a mayor's race, and what is one tactic you feel you would never do?
Never attack families. which one of our opponents that does that on a regular basis. But I think that's attacking families. It's about the campaign. It's about the issues. It's not about personalities. And so that's where I draw the line. And I've run 4, 5, 6, 7. This is my 8th campaign, and I'm not one that to run negative ads about. I'll run it about policy and not about politics.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is for you as well. A recent mailer from your campaign highlighted the city's reserves that went from $3.5 million to estimated $30 million, which you've already talked about. Again, the question is, why would we have such a large reserve, and what could the city be doing with that money rather than just sitting there?
Well, we passed an amendment, matter of fact, under Rep. Bankson, back then Councilman Doug Bankson. It was one of his policies he wanted to put in place here at the city of Apopka, that we have 25% reserves. And so I think it's at the $30 million, we're at 28%. So we're only at 3% above the number that now Representative Bankson had put in place as a city commissioner. So we're just a couple of $1 million above it. And with what's going on in Tallahassee, who knows where we'll be. So I think we're in a comfortable position. I don't think we could weather a pretty big hit to property taxes for a year or two. But after that, then we would really be in a position where we'd have to start looking at cutting services, which none of us want to do.
Difficult. Thank you. Commissioner Nesta, the question's for you. Can you define the limits of what you feel are acceptable campaign tactics? Can you give us examples of what is not acceptable campaign strategies that you would not employ in your campaign?
It's actually something my campaign did discuss right in the beginning. We've seen it otherwise, that campaigns can get dirty, and they choose to attack one versus the other, and maybe misinform the residents on the reality of facts. And so we discussed that up front, that's not something we want to do. We don't want to be a part of that. We're not going to do that. But put the facts out there, we will do. And that's what needs to happen. And there's a lot of misinformation that comes out there when somebody doesn't get their way, or it doesn't go the way that they thought it would. And so they distort the facts or distort the truth to get their way done. So I actually had one of my opponent's campaign employees, come up to me, and I asked, well, why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing certain things on social media that aren't truthful and things like that? And they just said, hey, it's campaign season. And I said, wow, that's really disappointing that that's your answer to that. So things of that nature, we run on facts. Look, none of us are perfect. We're not attacking everybody's imperfections, but at the same time, how are we going to improve as we go on? And if we're not going to show improvement, then we do have to address those issues that we're kind of stagnant at. So fact-based, that's what we do, what we have done, and what we'll continue to do.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, the next question for you is also, get ready. It's, as mayor, how would you work with city council members who strongly disagree with you on key issues?
Great question, and I fully support that. I think that's the point of all of us being elected, is that it's not just one person. It should be everybody's voice, because we all represent different areas of Apopka maybe, or different things of Apopka, different history of Apopka, whatever, however you associate with Apopka, they bring that kind of backpack of experience to it. So with that in mind, what I want to do is create really dedicated spaces for the commissioners, really develop confidence for our commission. Again, I'm the only one that actually is an elected commissioner here in Apopka, so I know what it takes to actually be successful at this. And it's very, very difficult because the tools for success are not there. You have to fight and kiss the ring and things of that nature to really get stuff done for the residents, the basic needs of the residents. So really instilling confidence in our commission, and one will be to give them dedicated meeting space, office space, and I also want to create a new position that they will have a dedicated assistant just to them to make sure that they have everything they need. They don't have to reach out to any other staff members if they don't want to, but they can. I'm going to be very big about making sure that they have access to staff members, not slow down that open information or dialogue that I've been stifled with many, many times. I want to make sure that they have that information just as quick as I do, if not quicker, so that they can make those same educated decisions and be able to discuss with the residents what's going on, why certain decisions were made or why certain decisions weren't made. It's okay if we vote differently. That's not a bad thing. And then it's really okay to even ask, hey, well, why did you vote that way? Because maybe I do, if you can discuss a little bit more, maybe that's a good idea. And now I want to switch a little bit because that's new information maybe I didn't have. So it's okay to kind of pressure test some of our ideas And that's how we're going to bring in a more confident council. And it starts with leadership. It starts at the center. It starts in the middle. So you can't do it from the bottom. I can't lead from the bottom with that. I've tried to instill Robert's Rules of Order. Wouldn't happen. Nobody wanted to do it. I've tried to ask, hey, well, why did you vote that way? What do you think? What are the pluses and minuses to that? Wouldn't happen, and I've been called all different types of names because of that. They take it as an attack versus, I just want to know why you did that, so that maybe it switches my ideas as well. So I think really creating a healthy environment for dialogue and a little civility versus just slamming hands down and things of that nature if a question is asked and being told to shut up, maybe that's going to create a better opportunity for our council to be successful.
Thank you. Next question is for Commissioner Moore. And the question is, how would you evaluate development proposals to ensure they benefit all residents without the need to charge additional fees or taxes to cover the cost of the additional new service demands?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, certainly, a lot of new development, when it's analyzed, it doesn't pay for itself. And then, of course, we had the question at the other debate, what happens if we keep raising impact fees? Well, of course, then you price our young families, our first-time homebuyers out of the market. So it comes back to, then the legislature with Senate Bill 180 makes it incredibly difficult to say no to everything. But I do have some ideas about that because I have the county, you all voted on it about a year ago, about a financial management tool for all new development. And it was developed by a group called Urban 3, and they're out of Asheville, North Carolina. And it's very data-driven, and what it does is it takes the cost of all your utilities, from the roads to the underground, the water, the sewer, the reclaimed water, and then looks at how much property tax is being paid by that community. And one night, my aide and I, we probably stayed up till 1 in the morning. We were so interested in this, and we started looking at different neighborhoods and businesses in Apopka, and they give you this metric, this tool to say, predict productivity rate per acre. So we started looking at some of your big box stores and the new industrial, and when we got done, we determined that it was mostly the townhomes and the apartments that are paying the highest rates per acre. So nobody wants the apartments, but we've never looked at the fact that they're actually paying the most per acre. So I have spoken with them because Joe Minicosi came to Orange County, and I had a subsequent meeting with him to say, could he come and look at Apopka's situation? We would be able to evaluate downtown, and again, when it's smaller lots, on-street parking, getting away from those big box, large asphalt areas, you're gonna see that they're more productive. And so that tool that he developed, every new development that comes across our desk at the county is then put into this metric to see if it's productive. Orange County as a whole is still in the hole, but not as bad as most cities. You can get across the country where some are 11 times, they're gonna go broke because they can't afford, think about it, when the infrastructure comes in, the developer puts it in, but who pays for it 15, 20, 30 years later? And that's what that tool does. So I certainly would use that tool, and I will tell you, sprawling subdivisions do not pay for themselves.
Thank you. Next question goes back to Commissioner Nesta, and the question is, how do you balance economic development with preserving Apopka's small-town identity, and where will you draw the line when development moves too quickly?
Well, I think that's the key, involving the economic development director and their department very integrally in every single facet that we're doing. One of our greatest assets is our natural resources here. We've got springs, we've got parks. We actually own, the city of Apopka actually owns 40 acres that has its own natural spring in it that we've never done anything with. That I have asked our old, a few of our department heads that are no longer here, unfortunately, since I've been elected, that how can we make this like a passive park? How can we really engage the residents better? How do we bring in our residents, our students to really learn about what's going on here locally? So that's what we need to do, is really prioritize economic development, but based on our natural resources that are already here. We do have a lot of people that come here that enjoy our springs, the natural parks, things of that nature, but really let's get that better. And how do you partner that with the businesses that are already here? How do you promote those to create some synergy together? Do you make events that are nature focused, but bring them back to the local businesses. That's the key to this, is create synergy. Instead of just silos, we need to really create synergy with this. So that's how we're going to really create better quality of life for our residents, and that's the key here, but also save our residents money and do better and create better options for them. On the development side specifically, though, it's, again, prioritizing the residents, their needs, and our quality of life. SB 180 has really taken away a lot of our autonomy and ability to control what goes on development-wise, but we can do that with really strategic ways that you just need to find. If you're motivated enough for the residents, you can find ways that can slow down development for our staff and our residents to catch up, basically.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore, next question for you, and you've kind of already answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. As mayor, what specific decision-making process would you implement to ensure residents feel heard before major decisions are made by the city commission that affect their quality of life?
I sort of did answer that. Certainly, we talked about all the different tools in the toolbox, which would be customer service. We talked about continuing the newsletters that Mayor Nelson's staff has done, to potentially a PIO, to town halls, to additional workshops potentially on Monday. And I'm also very interested in bringing in the League of Cities to talk about rules of procedure. Now that sounds really dry probably to you in this room, but I find these meetings are not efficient. And a lot of the business could be done in just a much more productive way. We've been losing, I hear from some of the builders and developers that they're having problems recruiting, the Outbacks to the Targets, to the things that people want. Our people out at the KPI just want a gas station. They're nice people, they just want that because they told me they were driving to Sanford to fill up. So really, the process to engage them and get the city going would certainly be back to strategic planning, to all these different types of meetings. And of course, elections do that, right, Hank? Elections share what the people's priorities are, and then it's our responsibility to answer that, to do what they ask. And I will tell you, they want a slow development, and they absolutely want their infrastructure in a better condition, and they want to have a downtown. And I've sort of added to that we have all these neighborhood commercial centers. They have no identity. When I try to tell somebody I'm going to the west side of town to the Lowe's and the Home Depot, it takes me that long to try to describe. It should have a name. Maybe it's the Arrow Neighborhood Center. And why don't we ask the people to keep you in town? So you don't have to drive to Winter Garden, Mount Dora, Altamont. What are we missing here? That's where you would engage the public. And then we could hire a little bit different than the economic development director, but somebody on commission who could say, well, I can go get that type of business and I can bring this, because that's why people are leaving town. And finally, I'm glad you asked that question, but I can talk about the Nawakat study, which is the transportation study that just floored me, that all of the roads are going to be failing in 30 years. Are all the roads leaving town? And so, yes, we've got to communicate with them to make sure that we have everything you need in town, and you don't have to drive anywhere. And it's not just about restaurants, even though that's important to people, commercial, it's also about high-paying jobs. And so we have a lot of work to do, but I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. Next question for Mayor Nelson. It's a similar vein kind of question, but as mayor, what additional processes would you implement to better engage the public comment to persuade adoption of city policies and ordinance to meet community demands and vision?
That's a good question. We'd love to have good, solid debate, but our council meetings, we run off the people that really have some great ideas. By the comments we have, why come to listen to that? And so on Wednesday night, we'll have the Future Farmers of America will be at City Council. So they're going to have to listen to the public comment from the 4 or 5 political operatives as they state their case about, against me. And so that's what we face every council meeting. And so when you look at how we want to grow the city, the perception out there is that this is a place you don't want to do business in. It's interesting. I had a guy that ended up building the Miller's Ale House here in Apopka, And I met with him a couple of times, and so he felt comfortable that the city was where he wanted to do business, in part because of the strong mayor. And I said, you know what, tell you what, I'll bet you a beer that we don't hold you up one day, that if anybody gets, if there's a hold up, it's because you're holding us up. And so we took the bet with, wink, wink bet. But at the end of the day, we got done in record time. He knows how to build a restaurant, and we know how to operate the building department. So 6 months later, we got Miller's Ale House up and running. So, he knows what it took, and was happy that he dealt with Apopka and was trying to work on a team that would build another restaurant across the street. We're still in negotiations. Hopefully have some good news on that front here in the next week or two. But that's what it takes is, they want somebody that they feel comfortable with, that the city is growing in the right direction. And, social media at times can be a real detriment to growing in the right way. And so how we manage the, social media so that, listen, we all, we make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but we need to highlight the positives in the city, like 5th Street, how 5th Street has really taken off and will continue to grow. And the Friday night markets and the restaurants there that are starting to really starting to operate on all 8 cylinders. So those are the kind of things we need to promote our city so that people want to come to Apopka.
Okay, thank you. Next question back to Commissioner Moore. And the question is a long one, but I'll try to make it short as I can. You have served both on the Orange County School Board and the Orange County Board of Commissioners, obviously. Overall decisions and strategic direction were shared by fellow board members, but as mayor, you would be expected to initiate, engage, and drive the board toward strategic initiatives that move the city forward. So the question is, how would you translate your county level experiences to being the primary person on city government? And then maybe a second one, what would be your approach to managing Apopka's workforce?
Thank you for that question. I will tell you at the school board, it really was more of a team approach, but I will tell you we were very jealous of our schools and we had a friendly approach to that. But when Wekiva High School and Ocoee High School needed a sports box, it was after there were gunshots and everybody fled. It was 2010. I was right there to advocate and I got that done. So I would say at the county level, we certainly ended up the queen or the king of our district, and we drive the agenda in that area. Yes, not the entire county. And I've been chosen by Mayor Demings to lead the region's transportation agency. My first meeting's on Wednesday, if any of you want to come. And I'm also on the CFX board. And so I'm not particularly worried about that because having 237,000 people in District 2 and having to deal with all their needs. And I led the septic to sewer conversion program, $125 million. I did that. We had the Border Lake flooding, and I had to show up at City Hall with county staff to try to get that moving along. I was happy to do that. The CRA has been failing for 30-some years. So I went to meetings, I went to training, I went back to the county and said, this CRA is the worst performing CRA in the entire county. They go, well, what do you want to do, Commissioner? Do you want to cancel it? We don't have to renew them. Well, of course I didn't want to do that. I just wanted a high-performing CRA, so we put pressure on them, written in the contract, that they had to spend half of the money each year. Well, what have we seen? Oh, we got a skate park, and we got wayfinding signage and basketball courts, finally. That was me behind the scenes. I'm not always the one who trumpets everything that I do. Yes, I can sometimes be the quieter one behind the scenes, but I assure you, at the county and the school board, I was leading. And so I will also tell you that my administration, I've got some notes, we would certainly be hiring staff and having strong standards for them and yearly goals, and they will be held accountable. I don't have to do everything. That staff at the city, so many of them are wonderful, wonderful people. They just need a little more push. And I will tell you, I run on, you get more done with Christine Moore. The only thing they might not like is I'm going to make sure whatever we say we're going to do, we're going to do. So, Hank, I'm not worried about it.
Thank you. Next question, back to Commissioner Nesta. And the question is, how do you define ethical leadership in local government, and what safeguards should exist to prevent conflicts of interest?
Well, I think it's exactly that. You have conflict of interest forms. You have an ethics commission that can review anything that anybody wants to submit. Additionally, you can create a policy in place that the commission can all agree to if they want to adhere to it. Again, that's the stuff that needs to come from the top, that we can create our own rules of engagement, so to speak, of how we want to deal with each other and how we want to work together or not work together, or have that friction. There is going to be friction, and that's okay. Friction really is okay to make our city move forward and progress, to hear different ideas and pressure test them to make sure they work properly, to make sure that it's not just a good idea now, it's a good idea 10 years from now, 15 years from now, not just for us, but for our kids' kids. It's important that we really create longevity for our city. So it's engaging in that capacity of not just me, it's about us. How do we as a commission want to engage each other? How do we want to engage the residents? How do we want to move forward in that capacity? And to what level do we want to hold each other accountable? And then what safeguards are in there? We can do that. We absolutely can create our own provisions that we will follow moving forward. So I just think that's important, that that can come from the top, and it's a very simple, easy workshop that we can create to make sure that all the members of the dais are heard properly and that they can then impact different policies to move forward, again, to make sure they're comfortable with how they want to move forward.
Okay, thank you. And we're not going to leave you. We're going to come back to you next again. And it's, you have experience running a small business and serving as a city commissioner. How does your work background and skill set prepare you to serve as mayor?
Great question. I've been in my small business for a little over 10 years, but in the industry for about 17 now. It's a service industry. My service has always been about my customers, and now it's my residents. I care so much to make sure that they are the most happy they can possibly be. That is the goal, no matter what. It's not about what the quick next thing I can get or something along those lines. It's about making sure that our residents are as happy as can be. And that's where there's synergy in between what I'm doing on the side, my side business, so to speak, and then what I'm doing for my kind of main, what takes over my whole life right now is politics and being a commissioner and having to make sure that I know every detail of each and every agenda and different facets and having to go do deep research. This is what creates great service. It creates great knowledge base that I can then educate the residents on why certain decisions are made and how they're made. Again, the whole point is service. We're here to serve, not just do our agenda, but the residents' agenda. Make sure their points are pushed forward. And so that's what I've done in my business. I serve my customers, and it's very easy for me to be a commissioner because I serve my residents in that same capacity. High standards and making sure they get exactly what they've asked for.
Okay, thank you. Next question goes to Mayor Nelson. And the question is, how would you handle a situation where a city decision benefits a political supporter?
You have to, as I learned way back when, a good friend of ours, Senator Bennett and Senator Richter, which my running buddies when I was serving in the legislature, and they said, if you can't take a campaign check and tell that individual no, then don't take that campaign check. And that holds true today at the city council meeting. If you can't tell them no, then don't take a check. And so I think we as elected officials have to be very careful that we're held to a higher standard. And I know some of us, we talk about ethics, and yet we walk out on 2 budget hearings because they had a conflict which never was shared with us about a $60,000 commission. So I don't have those ethics problems. Yes, I was charged with an ethics violation by my other opponents. One of her supporters found not guilty, and so when I came back to get repaid by the city council, which is a part of it's just standard protocol, Commissioner Nesta and Commissioner Velasquez both voted against me being reimbursed for an ethics violation, and I was found not guilty. That's what, when we get to the point where we're having our supporters out there, actively working against opponents either in the social media world or even in the physical world. That's not productive for Apopka. And we spend our directors spend so much time having to manage the expectations of the commissioners versus doing their job and getting us the things that we want on a timely basis and on budget. So we need to be very careful that we don't let this get out of control, and that we look at how we conduct business, and that we do it in an ethical way, and we are certain that what we're doing is for the right reasons for all the citizens of Apopka.
Thank you. Next question goes back to Commissioner Nesta. When elected mayor, what would be your first priority in office, and what specific actions would you take in your first 90 days of office?
There's quite a bit that I'll do in my first 90 days. We're going to get rid of some bad policies, institute some new good policies. We're going to be reducing utility rates. We're going to make sure that we're properly staffed. We're going to take away anything that scares people from coming into City Hall and engaging with not only us as elected officials, but also our staff. Make sure that they're available. The current administration has made sure that people don't want to come into the city, or that there's locked doors and things of that nature. It's the people's building. They need to have access to it. So we're going to really create an incredible opportunity for the residents to come in and really have healthy, open dialogue with who they need to. And that's to ensure that development, so there's a lot of people right now, a couple residents I know that are trying to get ADUs, or additional dwelling units, kind of cottages, built onto their properties. And they're hesitant to come to City Hall. They're nervous about what that looks like, only because they may have been seeing me out. They may have been seen with me out or something like that. They're scared of retaliation. So it's to make sure that things like that don't happen in the future. We don't need any residents, whether they're for me or against me, to be scared to engage their government officials, or the public service people that work for them. All of our directors, all of our employees work for the residents. They don't work for the mayor, they work for the residents. And they need to make sure that that's articulated properly, and that we have the right people in place that want to serve the residents, and not just a strong mayor to keep a job. And also I want to clarify something too. I've never ever received any checks from any developer ever in any of my campaigns. Neither of my opponents can say that same thing.
Next question goes to Commissioner Moore. What specific steps would you take to make Apopka more business friendly for small and mid-sized businesses, and not just the large businesses?
That's a great question, Hank, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. That is why I took the group to DeLand to see how they had worked and incubated those small business holders. I told you I've attended a class with the community redevelopment area, and so certainly we have got to do a lot of work on our building facades in the older downtown areas. I moved to downtown to be part of the solution, and I will tell you that the program that the CRA took on to assist homeowners, it was very successful, but now it needs to be moving over towards these small businesses. We have storefronts that are empty. They're just sitting there by 5th Street empty. And so we could potentially hire a contractor to go out just on commission and to fill those spots, but it has to be combined with using those CRA dollars appropriately. Remember, I told you for 30 years, hardly anything got done down there. I wondered about that. So I pulled up, when you're a county commissioner, you have to vote on everybody's CRAs, and so Winter Garden came in and Winter Park, and I'm curious, so I pull out their document from 30 years ago, and I pull out Apopka's. Theirs was all these details, and they come in, and I've done this. Apopka's was aspirational, and they hadn't done hardly anything. And so clearly we have to have a very detailed plan with timelines to get that downtown going. I will also tell you that there's help. You know, there are grants. There's money out there that we can bring in once we get this going. Very simple things, cleaning it up, having citizen help. Government does not have to do everything, and I've proven that over the last 5 or 6 years. We've cleaned up over a dozen streets. I try to get a People of Downtown Apopka group going. So it's a partnership. It's always a partnership between the businesses, the city, and the people and the town. And so, but right off the bat, you've got to have some design standards. You may have to adjust the land development code and to update what businesses are acceptable, what are not. So that would be the city side of the equation, to make sure that all those pieces are in place, but they all have to be working together. And I love that question.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go back to you one more time, so don't leave that mic too far. What is one decision you've made as an elected official in the past that you regret, and what did it teach you?
There's probably more than one.
Pick your choice.
You know, because I can remember, I'll give you a couple, because I think we learn from things. I remember being on the school board, and we were so insistent to get that A grade, And the moms were like, but Johnny and Susie need recess. And I remember us going, no, got to be in the book. Well, man, those moms, rose up. She remembers it. And then it was amazing. After you listened to the moms, you figured out how to have recess. But, I was a little bit recalcitrant at first, but I changed. And let's see, at the county, I think a lot of times your votes can be misunderstood. I'll give you one most recently where, I don't know how much of you all know about Split Oak. I'm going to try not to get into the weeds here, but nobody wants to destroy conservation land. And so the environmentalists, they are the toughest, the best advocates out there. She's shaking her head. And when I first made the vote in 2019 to have the road go through, I was thinking about you all that I didn't want 500,000 more people up in Apopka. So I said, let the road go down to Osceola County. Boy, have I gotten beaten up since. But then recently, the road is continuing. I'm on the CFX board. And then they had to take some of Orange County's conservation land. Oh boy, here we go again, And but there was an ability for me to get some conservation land in Apopka from CFX up here. And I know Mayor Nelson's wanted it. I don't care if it goes to Orange County or if it goes to the city. Preserving natural land up here with all this development is vitally important. So the one side presented it as the vote was to sue. They were saying, if you vote no, then you don't want to preserve this natural land on the east side of town. No, I did, but the attorney said that we were going to lose. There's preeminence for the toll agencies, and we could stand on our head, and we were going to lose the lawsuit. So I voted to negotiate, and then I got painted as being anti-environment. Nothing could have been further from the truth. So these things are challenging sometimes. I just encourage you all to listen to all sides of the issue, and just because maybe you don't like how we voted with you one time, the next time we might be with you. And so we don't make enemies out of each other when we have our differences.
Thank you. Next question goes to Mayor Nelson, and it's pretty simple, really. Specifically, what do you want Apopka to look like in 4 years?
Boy, that's a great question. One of the things we've talked about is ecotourism. So some ideas we've got that we could be the destination for all of Central Florida. We've got a climbing bee it's a company that's hopefully we're going to come to Apopka. So it's a climbing facility right off the 414 in Apopka. Also, we're looking at a mountain bike park out on Apopka Apopka Coe Road. Got hung up in the council. I wanted to make it a bigger park, which make it a more regional park, and Commissioner Nesta was not in favor of buying the additional property. So we got those two things, and when we go to the Northwest Rec Center, we got the $13 million appropriation from the hotel tax, which Commissioner Moore was dead set against us asking for that much money, wanted us to only ask for $2.1 million. We get $13.1 million, and we were the number one rated proposal of all the proposals for Orange County. So we got that money. So we're going to have the ability to have 4 more softball fields with this money, as well as some major improvements to the amphitheater. So when you start to put all these things together, if we can work with like our friends at Kings Landing, with Rock Springs, Kelly Park, and Wekiva Springs, we really have the ability to put together an ecotourism package. So if somebody wants to spend a day, and they don't want to do the theme parks, we've got the ability to come to Apopka. Just think about it. Have a climbing facility. We've got Camp Weewa. We've got the wildlife drive around Lake Apopka. We've got the mountain bike park. We've got all the amenities at the Northwest Complex. We all of a sudden have something that a lot of people would just kill to have in their city. So we're so excited about the opportunities that we have from an ecotourism standpoint that if we can bring that all to fruition, I would be very, very happy with our 4 years.
Thank you. And the question, I got another one, goes right back to you. And we kind of touched on this a while ago, so this is not a total repeat, but I'll let you look at it again. It says Apopka currently has the reported 62 to 82 vacant budgeted positions. You've mentioned some of those are part-time. Roughly 10 to 18% of the budget workforce. How do you ensure future positions are filled in a timely manner? And how do you balance staffing needs with the fiscal responsibilities and fiscal budget issues?
Great question. I can tell you, like, we're short an engineer. We're also short on a designer for public works. Those two positions. Right now, anything in the engineering, the public services side, senior management, they're hard to fill. The rest of the positions, I don't know that, like, okay, community development, great, one, a lot of people have asked about that. Well, I've got a great building department manager, and I've got a great planning manager. Okay, they're doing their job. They don't need a lot of supervision. So why add another level of supervision on top of them at $250,000? And I always look at things in, okay, $250,000. Our taxes are, let's say, $36 million. So $250,000 is probably closer to $300,000 when you take in all the benefits. That's almost a 1%, or excuse me, 1% increase in property taxes. Okay, so I look at things in because the only way we can really raise a lot of revenue is property taxes. We don't have any control over sales tax. So when I look at issues, I say, okay, do you, the consumer, you, the resident out there, do you want to pay 1% more in sales tax? Property tax, or would you rather be where we are, which was we're able to, because of our fiscal responsibility, we were able to reduce property taxes by 1/4 basis. So we are 25 basis points. So we reduce property taxes because we're fiscally responsible. And so some of the positions we've got, yeah, we would love to fill them. There are other, because if we have to go outside and go get a consultant, consultants cost us more. I'd love to have our attorney back in-house. Commissioner Nesta killed the last attorney, and then the attorney before that was by Commissioner Velasquez and Commissioner Becker. So we've lost two great attorneys that would have saved us a couple $100,000 a year because they ran them out of town. So, you've got to have the staff that you want to come, and if you've got antagonistic commissioners, they look, it's like, you know what? There's another town I can go to, appreciate it, but thanks, but no thanks.
Thank you. Next question goes to Commissioner Nesta. Speaking him. What is the single most important issue facing Apopka today to you, based on your opinion, and what would you do to address it? Single most important issue.
Absolutely. So it's kind of all encaptured within quality of life. We've got to improve our quality of life here, and that's inclusive of reducing our utility rates, increasing services to our residents, providing for many different housing options. We kind of have a one type of housing right now, providing and bringing in and incentivizing developers to bring in different types of housing. All of that is our biggest issue that's going on. It's quality of life. We need to increase that across the board. And that goes to infrastructure, it goes to parks, it goes to events that we have, it goes to local businesses, it goes to everything. It really touches and reaches every part of our life. It's our quality of life. That's our biggest issue, the one that we're dealing with. So it's multifaceted. You can't just say it's a one thing. We got to reduce our utility rates. We've got to increase our services to our residents. We have to staff properly. There's so many different things that we need to be doing to increase, not just do the same thing we've been doing for the last decade. It's time to pivot. It's time to really upgrade our lives here in Apopka. Give the residents what they truly want. You said it earlier today. $235 million worth of economic value is leaving our city. Just poof, gone. What can that be doing back here, back for our residents here? And not to mention all the time people are driving and having to travel to go outside of the city. Let's keep them here. Let's actually make it a true city that is walkable, that is something where you can enjoy everything with your kids, and you can have a beer with your friends and hang out and just have different areas of the city that you truly enjoy, not just one, but really enjoy all 34 square miles that we have. So the biggest, most important issue is quality of life. Is what we're dealing with right now. I do want to correct a couple things, because again, I said it at the top that it's going to be a fact-based campaign, that I voted against the mountain bike park because there was a bad real estate deal about to happen. It was a land swap that was about to well undervalue what the residents should be realizing. So that was a big one. And then also the millage rate, it was decreased, but it's still an 8.1% increase over the previous year. So we're still paying more than we did last year. Let's just make sure that that's accurate.
Thank you. Next question goes to Commissioner Moore again, and it's this one. If elected mayor, what will be your first action items and how do you plan to implement them as mayor?
I've already started thinking about it, but I always have to say, Lord willing, because I don't like to get the cart before the horse, but I've been talking about a transition team. That was a very effective tool and process that Mayor Demings used back when he came into the county, and that was really the beginnings of the affordable housing program to buy natural lands and a lot of the updates and approval in the home building department and EPT environmental as well. So certainly that would set the tone, have to hire a manager and have to have an attorney. So those things have to occur as well. And I have said many times that the civility problems at these board meetings have to be addressed. And so I would endeavor to bring in the League of Cities to create rules of procedure so these meetings are much more civil, than they run better, that the commissioners are supportive of one another, that we don't have people in the audience, you know. I've been cussed at in that meeting by supporters. I mean, I walk in and say hello and I get called a derogatory term. We just can't have that. And I can tell you that the League of Cities, they can come in and help us to get those meetings where they're productive and they're healthy and they do what the residents need to move the city ahead. So, but I would first start off with the transition team process.
Okay, thank you. Believe it or not, we are down to the last 3 questions for you before we let you give some closing statements. So let me go back to Commissioner Moore one more time. And this is the last question individually. 4 years from now, how will residents know and benefit that your mayoral term was successful?
That's a great question. That and I don't have to say one thing, right? Because there's so many things.
Well, hopefully you'll say many things.
I hope so. No, you know, we have a wonderful place here with a lot of history. I wrote a book about it when I was on the school board. I was so proud of Apopka, potato-eating people. A fun little thing is, how about a potato-eating contest and unique recipes at our restaurants? How about areas of town that have great names? Could be the Errol Neighborhood Center or the Welch. I hope y'all help me come up. And all these neighborhood centers are going to be, because they've approved 10,000 new home sites, so we're going to hit 100,000 people. And so we need to have some diversity of locations. I will tell you, the people moving the south side of town, a lot of them are from Ocoee, and they say, I'm so sad, but I have to keep driving back to Ocoee. But the Publix in that whole area, that Keene Road neighborhood center, could be developed in full, and I talked about that a little bit earlier. We talked about boards where all of you could serve, whether you're interested in arts, historical preservation, athletics, whatever that may be. I would see that. And of course, you all know I like things clean, I like things neat, and I want you to be proud. When I had a friend, she's not here tonight, who used to tell me that when people came into town, she had to give them a specific route to avoid this street and avoid this street, because she didn't want them to see it. No, all of our major streets should be cleaned up, and you should be proud to bring people here. We've got 2 Class 1 springs. We've got a wildlife drive, Magnolia Park, trails. We are going to be trail central for Orange County. So everything should marry up to the best of Apopka. Everything has to come into line. And a lot of these things are simple. It's just you take one step, you finish that project, you go to the next. And so I believe 4 years from now, this town could look different. We could be kinder to one another. We could have more jobs, and we could stay here and get everything we need done right in Apopka.
Thank you. Commissioner Nesta, last question for you is, the tourist contract to develop the city center is either over or very close to concluding. Obviously, the city doesn't have a completed city center. In your opinion, why was the city center not completed, and what would you have done differently to complete the city center?
This is an easy one. Lack of real estate experience and negotiation skills. And this was from years ago. So it was lack of understanding of what you need to hold the feet to the fire of the developers, knowing what developers are going to agree with. Developers know how to negotiate. You need to know how to negotiate back. And so it's key, and that's where my experience really comes into play, and I've done it already on the council as a part-time commissioner. Can only imagine how much more I can do once elected as mayor. So it's understanding these contracts and being able to fight back how you need to. Really fight for the residents and their needs appropriately. The downtown center was sold as this, it's supposed to be incredible, walkable downtown center, retail on the bottom, maybe some residential up top, a fountain, just truly walkable and incredible. Bring in different retail shops, offices. It was going to be amazing. And then, not that it's not great, but it's definitely not as much as what it should have been right now. We really don't have, it's not a center. It doesn't bring people down to the core of what our city is. So that really was a flop, unfortunately. And again, the developers went out on that one. That's what happened there. It was bad negotiations on the city side when we could have truly gone much harder against them to build what the residents want, not what the developer wants.
Okay, thank you. And last question from Mayor Nelson. FDOT made improvements on Highway 441 all through downtown Apopka. The city paid for the landscaping, yet he doesn't say the roadway is an eyesore, at least some say that, due to a lack of overall maintenance. As mayor, how do you intend to improve and maintain the landscaping and roadway appearance?
Yeah, we're right in the process of now, we got some of the palm trees along the corridor that will be replaced. It would have been this week had it not been for the cold weather. We've got landscaping going down Vic Road, trees that I know some people were a little upset. We took out some 80-foot tall Washingtonia palms. The problem is they were so tall that we couldn't keep them trimmed up looking right without a very high expense to that maintenance. So what we've done is we're going to have all new landscaping down Vic Road. We're putting back the new palms on Main Street. We're going to go back to a lot more of the perennial peanut. It seems to do great. It chokes out all the weeds, which obviously if you can get a low maintenance landscape versus a high maintenance, always makes for a better appearance. So I think in the next 30 to 60 days we should have the medians will be back to where we feel good about them. The palms will be looking up, and we've got a few other palms around that we need to fix. We also planted around the pond at Martin's Pond. So when Highland Manor was complaining that the Winn-Dixie, which was going across the street, they were able to see Winn-Dixie. So we were able to plant some trees as a buffer so they wouldn't see 441. And then at the time I put in some landscape, call them weeping willows, along the pond, so that at some point they're not big enough yet that they would block the 441 going south toward Orlando. So we want to make Highland Manor a destiny. It's done very, very well, and with the hotel, the synergy there is amazing. And the Hilton Garden Inn is in the top 5% of all Hilton Garden Inns in the country. So we're real proud of the fact that they've done very, very well. Obviously, we wish we hadn't had the affordable housing complex put in there, but that was Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Becker, and Commissioner Velasquez that signed that deal, not me. So we could, unfortunately, it is what it is. We have to make lemonade out of lemons.
Thank you. That is all the individual questions, so it's going to be your turn now. We are going to give you each 3 minutes to do some closing statements, and what we'd like to have you tell us is, why are you the best candidate to be selected as mayor? And we're going to start with current mayor and just work our way across. Mayor?
All right, thank you. Well, thanks, Victory Church. Thank you, Hank Dunn, for putting this event on. I think we've heard a lot of some good information out there. But let's go back. I know water rates have come up multiple times. So let me just tell you about how we got to where we were at 10%. This isn't some game show where you say, hey, I want to make it 8% or 4% or 2% increase. You go by the rates that are set by Raftellus. Raftellus is a nationally known modeler that tells you where the rates need to be based on your costs. So we went and we brought in IT, we brought in public services, we brought in utility billing, and we went through and we did, okay, we put in a new base station, we put higher tap fees, we did meter tampering fees, we did credit card surcharges, we reduced overtime. And one of the things we didn't bring up at the last meeting I should bring up is they put in a fertilizer plant under the former administration, which was Commissioner Becker, Commissioner Velasquez, and Mayor Kilsheimer. And this fertilizer plant was a $4 million plant that we've yet to use. They also spent $11 million on the West wastewater plant, which we've never used. So we had $15 million, and so if you want to talk about utility rates, that's $600,000 a year that we're going to have to pay for the next 15 years for something we've never used. So when you talk about utility rates, you won't talk about going back. We talk about the contract that was signed. I can't stop that. So we take that off the thing. We got the water rates where we are. But if we want to talk about utility rates, let's talk about garbage rates. Our garbage rates are $319 a year if you want to base it on the monthly. The Orange County just went to $400. So we're 25% cheaper than Orange County on garbage rates, and yet we do twice a week. So we've got a lot of quality here in Apopka that we have maintained over the years, and our road infrastructure we're still in the high 70s as far as our PCI score. So we maintain our roads very well. We've got, I keep pounding on, when you got $40 million in reserves, a lot of things can go wrong. You still got money to be able to pay for those mistakes. So we've got the money, we got the talent, we got one of the best staff across all our departments. I am so proud of and what they come to work for to accomplish every day. So we've got a great city. We just need people to support us, to highlight the great things that we're doing in the city of Apopka, and we'll be 40 years from now. People will be proud that they could call this their home, and this is where they raised their children, and they retired here in the city of Apopka. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Nelson. Commissioner Nesta.
Thank you so much to Victory Church, Dr. Dunn, and the Apopka Involved Voters for coordinating this forum, and most importantly, thank you again to the residents both in person and online. You guys are why we're here and what we should be focused on more than anything else. One thing about me, and it's been shown through my service so far, is that I'm not scared or I don't back off of dealing with the difficult questions. I'm not scared to go back on and make sure that we correct bad decisions, and I make sure that I'm providing transparency through our actions on the dais. One of my big things that I'm huge about is making sure that residents know that I'm here. I've been here. I started my business here. I met my wife here. We're raising our kids here. We are so invested in this community, and each of the decisions we make on the dais directly affects me through the water bills, trash bills, utilities, streets, everything. Our parks, it's something we use day in and day out, and it's so important to us. So I want to make sure residents know that I'm here to advocate for all residents, not just a select few, not just a neighborhood or two. All residents within the city of Apopka deserve to be heard. And one big thing is I'm not running against any one person. I'm running for the residents of Apopka. The city isn't a political stepping stone, like I said in the beginning, or a talking point for me. It's home. And I humbly ask and thank you for your support on March 10th, 2026.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you to Rod Olson, John Drago, and Hank Dunn for the opportunity to share my vision for Apopka with the community. I believe most of you understand that a new approach and fresh leadership is needed to help residents and the city reach its fullest potential. You may also know that I resigned my seat as an Orange County Commissioner effective April 27th, bought a historic home in the downtown community redevelopment area to lead Apopka's future. Apopka has been my home and my heart for 37 years. Both children and 2 grandchildren attended Apopka schools, and residents have already elected me 5 times. You see, public service is my passion, and I love serving people. My personal traits include honesty, transparency, strategic planning, courageous action, civility, and visionary thinking. I work collegially with diverse leaders and agencies and have a history of empowering staff and engaging residents through placemaking. I want to take resident engagement to a new level by adding ordinances, creating brand new sounding board committees for historic preservation, infrastructure improvements, parks and rec, arts, and downtown business development. Under my administration, we'll actively recruit more high-paying jobs, expand opportunities for current local businesses, fund road and intersection improvements, strengthen the land development code, ensuring less sprawling development, and purchase land for conservation. Finally, I believe we must continue to support our public safety and general city services and employees. While I'm optimistic about the recent reduction in utility billing, I know there is much to do to fix the reclaimed water system, ensure adequate sewer capacity, and install all of the 10-year backlog of water meters, correct failing backflow preventers, and follow all the requirements of the Water Management Agency. So on March 10th, for better infrastructure, less sprawling, new development, healthier families, greater resident engagement, and honest and forthright discourse, I earnestly ask for your vote for me. Christine Moore. Apopka deserves more.
Thank you, candidates. Can we give all three candidates a round of applause for coming tonight? We appreciate their being here. Thank you, candidates. On behalf of the citizens of Apopka, I want to thank the candidates for participating tonight and giving the voters what their views are on issues of concern to the Apopka community. Also wanted to thank the city voters who are listening online, and for those attending the forum, thank you guys for being here tonight and being cooperative. And candidates, good luck with your campaigns. It's just a month ahead here, so you're almost to the end. Thank you, Victory Church, for the use of these facilities, and the Apopka Chief for the use of their streaming services. Without their services, the voters would be deprived of a really valuable election tool to watch and hear their candidates speak personally. Finally, we urge all candidates, all citizens, to know the issues affecting our city, understand each candidate's views on those issues, and more importantly, exercise your right to vote and go vote. Again, we hope everyone has a safe trip home tonight, and as we often say, if you're at your house and moving to the refrigerator, be safe on that trip as well. Thank you, candidates.